Uh, this session is a bit of an experiment where we take the age-old teachings of a saintly figure of Tamil Nadu and then use the Odyssey form to interpret some of her more valuable teachings. So sit back and enjoy this wonderful experiment. I will now call Geeta Gopalakrishnan to tell you more.
Friends, thank you for coming here. My grandmother's tweets is based on 109 sayings of Avayar, who is a poet and saint of the 10th century. Rather than go into a quick conversation, I thought it would be a good idea to tell you the story of Avayar through dance and music. And we have asked Jailam Paranjpe to enact something which is South Indian in theme, because we are in Odisha, and therefore we've used Odissi as a means of communication. So here is the story of Avayar. 10th century. In the reign of the Chola dynasty and King Adyaman, in a small village in Tamil Nadu, a Brahmin called Bhagwan, believing in social equality, married an untouchable called Adi. They had a little daughter. But the father decided to go off on his spiritual quest, and the mother, unable to bear the discomfort of bringing up a girl child alone, gave her to wandering minstrels. At age 4, she completed a verse that scholars struggled with, and she grew up to be a talented and beautiful girl. You would think this lovely girl did not have a care in the world, but she was weighed down by the burden of youth. She had suitors to marry, but did not want a man to be center of her universe. She yearned for wisdom. She asked, "Must I grow old to get wise? I wish I could turn into an old woman overnight and acquire wisdom. Let me pray to my beloved Lord Ganesha." गणपतिं भजे हूँ श्री महागणपतिं भजे हूँ शिवात्मजं षण्मुहाग्रजं श्री महागणपतिं भजे हूँ. The Lord indeed appeared and granted her the boon of old age. Avayar began her journey with a stick and a meager belongings. She set forth on foot across the land, across the Chola, Pandya and Chera kingdoms, imparting her gift of wisdom to kings, to village folk, yes, even to children. She would observe human behavior and people hung on to her one-liners. Ayyam ittun, feed before you eat. Aram seyya virumbu, desire to do good. Aruvadichinam, let anger subside quickly. Nool palakal, read elaborately. Udayadu vilambel, don't flaunt what you possess. Deshatodu ottu vaal, be one in the country you belong to. 109 of these were recorded by village folk 10 centuries ago. Avayar was pleased, thinking she had reached the pinnacle of wisdom and learnt all that she knew. As she sat under a jambu tree, a boy perched on top asked if he could throw her a fruit. Avayar, in the midst of her philosophical thoughts, was irritated. The boy persisted. He asked Avayar if he should throw her a cold fruit or a heated one. Chuttaparam veduma, Shuradaparam veduma. Obviously a cold one, she retorted. When the boy threw a fruit down, Avayar picked it up and blew away the dust from it. The boy laughed and said, obviously, the fruit is hot as you're blowing away at the fruit. Avayar realized her wisdom was still shrouded in the dust of ignorance. Looking up, she beheld Lord Muruga in his peacock Vahan. She prostrated before him, asking him to destroy ego, which she realized is a hurdle in the path of spiritual ascent. One of Avayar's dreams was a visit to Mount Kailash in the Himalayas, where she heard Sundarar and Sheraman, two Shaiva saints, had already reached. She wondered how she could reach her dream destination. And of course, she turned to her favorite Lord Ganesha again. Kamesha nayana klantakam, Kamesha nayana klantakam, Nagalinga varaputram, Shri Vidya Chitrabhanan, Rajayogindra Vanditam, Shri Mahaganapatim Bhaje. As Ganesha appeared, Avayar, with great devotion, spontaneously recited a string of verses ending with a remarkable prayer. After revealing Shiva in the sound, Om, after pointing out the Shivalinga within my mind, after showing atom within atom and distance beyond distance in the joints of my well-ripened sugarcane-like body, after clarifying the role of Vedas and sacred ash, Sahasrasirusha Purushaha Sahasrakshas Sahasrapat Sabhumim Vishvato Vritva Atyadrishtad Dashangulam. After making me one with the crowd of realized devotees, after pointing out the principle of 5 letters, Namah Shivaya. After showing me the philosophical state of mind, after ruling me, my wise Vinayaka, I seek refuge at your feet. Upon hearing this, lo and behold, Lord Ganesha lovingly wrapped his mighty trunk around her and placed her at the feet of Mount Kailash. The saints, when they arrived at Lord Shiva's abode, Kailash, they wondered how Avayar reached before them. Grateful, Avayar looked heavenwards at the omniscient, the omnipresent, and chanted, Avayar said, Nya pol vala, one of her one-liners, which means be flexible, like the Tamil letter Nya, which goes in a kind of all over to show flexibility. And indeed, Jailam Paranjpe, one of the foremost disciples of Guru Kelucharan Mahapatra, who studied with him in his Gurukul when she was just 20 years old, and since then has been so flexible in incorporating the Tamil poet and Saint Avayar into the Odissi dance form and expression. We are so grateful to her. Jailam, we call her Jailam Thai, which means elder sister, noticed a young lad playing brilliantly on a tabla in her Mumbai Odissi dance school. She took him to Odisha, where he mastered the Mardal under Guru Kelucharan, and subsequently Banamali Maharana in his Gurukul. Rohan Madale has recently won the Guru Kelucharan Yuva Pratibha Samman Awards. Please give him a good hand. Heartfelt thanks to you, Jailam and Rohan. For all of you in the audience, all I can say is, Apano Subho Maneko Bahu Dhonabad Jejo Mara Ashibad. Avayar said, Eva the Vilakil, never stop giving. I thank the most generous Debashish Mitra, who's on the fundraising committee of Tata Medical Center and has given time, his ideas and funds for the cause of underprivileged children with cancer at Tata Medical Center. The center has so many children and families from Odisha who come for treatment there. So Debashish, can you please join us to explore some facets on this book, My Grandmother's Tweets? Sit, keep sitting.
Everybody. Can I be heard? So, what an amazing performance. And I think an interesting venue to actually explore innovation and alternate ideas. A management school, discussion on values, expression using culture and different forms, and of course, a very unique person in our Geeta Gopalakrishnan here. All of us know about the Tata Group and what Tata Steel does and what's it doing out here. But I'm not too sure how many know about the Tata Medical Center, which is Eastern India's premier cancer hospital that has been set up over the last 5 to 6 years in Calcutta. It has treated over 100,000 patients. It's just been expanded from a 100-bed to a 350-bed facility. But what is remarkable, I think it's part of the Tata philosophy, that they said that all the funds for the hospital needs to come also from community support. And this lady sitting to my left has raised 275 crores through different efforts, some quite remarkable methods of creativity, right from the highest office in the land to the lowest people giving 10 rupees. And today the hospital is complete, its expansion is on, and it's a remarkable story. So part of this whole innovative approach to fundraising is this book that she's written. The Personality of Avyar was just shared. And the proceeds from the sale of this book is also going towards the treatment of underprivileged children in this hospital, where 50% of the beds have been reserved for them. It's a tragedy in our country that almost lots of young children are getting this dreaded disease, and they need this care and concern. So people like Geeta, more power to you to get this thing done. I guess we have to talk a little bit about this person, because for most of us, not from Tamil Nadu, may I just, you don't know much about Avyar. Do give me a minute, please. So, as she explained, and some of us may know, particularly those from Odisha, that the period of the 9th, 10th, 11th century was a lot of ferment across India, where Buddhism and Jainism was declining, Hinduism was being revived, Adi Shankaracharya was on. So the question I have for you, Geeta, is what made you pick Avyar?
Well, I come from an extremely traditional and orthodox family. I've never been to a birthday party or gone out with friends, not any of the things that all of you might have done. And I had two grandmothers in the twin cities of Hyderabad and Secunderabad. And they both were married at 9 and 10 respectively. They had no education, but they kept quoting Avyar. At every little juncture, at least during the course of a day, at least once or twice, they would say something, any one of these 109 sayings. And they would explain it in the context of, and then I said, where do these things come from? And they talked about, Adavanda Avyar, that was Avyar of the 10th century, many hundreds of years ago. So can you imagine, it came from whatever, ancestors to daughter to granddaughter to granddaughter. And I feel today many people ask me, don't you miss all those days when you could have partied in school and college and stuff? And I say no, because what I learned from them was Avyar. And that became the edifice of my entire life. So I thought, then I moved to Bombay when I married and into advertising. I was a writer. And then in formal meetings, friends would ask me, my colleagues and stuff, your grandmother hasn't appeared today. And my managing director, Asit, if you remember, Adi used to tell you that he used to say, Avyar, no appearance of Avyar today. So they all said, you must write about her. She's as relevant today as she was, because it all adds up to knowledge and, how to run your day-to-day life. So that's why I kind of thought I'd put pen to paper.
Very interesting. So as you described her, she was not from a very rich or royal background. And that was also an era when I think the South was known for rich dynasties like the Chola and so on. I've had the privilege of going through your book briefly. Picked up some interesting stories on the philosophy of giving. So where did that come from? And it's quite relevant to the fact how it's inspired you and your work.
Well, at any given point of time, sorry, I have to go back to my grandmothers again and again. It's their tweets, which is Avyar's. But there was a huge sense of generosity in everything they did. And many of the sayings that they quoted from Avyar was all about giving. Danamada Virimba, Aramsaya Virimba. It was all about, even if you have little, you have to give. So giving was a great part of her lessons, and I suppose I imbibed it, and kind of it got into my system. That they were so generous, and
So was there something about that era that needed this thing to be brought to light of people? And is it relevant now?
it's very relevant, more relevant today than ever before, because in those days, I suppose giving, I don't know if you all agree with me, but giving came more naturally to our elders. Like at any point of time, 30 people would be in and out of the house, khana, there's so many homes even now, it says, just it's all there. The giving part of it is very much part of it. Sometimes it needs to be fanned too. We can get caught up in ourselves, and we're always reminded that you must keep an eye on people who are less privileged than you. So that was the learning.
The other interesting thing that I observed going through the book, and I think again it's quite relevant to the times we live in, that you've taken inspiration of stories from different cultures, different religions, different eras, and around the world. Where did that come from?
Although I keep saying my family was very orthodox, they were actually very secular in nature. Hyderabad mein azan, in the morning my grandmother would say, "Chalo, azan shuru ho gaya." My mother went to a convent and sang hymns, that the Italian nuns taught her. So there's always a very kind of secular sense, and large number of Muslims who came to our home very often. So I really thought when I wrote this book that I should not just, it's the easiest thing for me to have run to Bhagavatam and Ramayanam and quoted stories, but automatically I just said if it has to reach out to people, and I believe in being secular more than anything else is important, then we need to, look at stories from Islam, Christianity. So the book is from different cultures and traditions, from, Judaism, it's not just religion, it's also backgrounds and cultures. So all the sayings have been illustrated by a handful of sayings, by a handful of stories that are from different parts of the world, and short and sweet.
So the giving is universal, the heart of giving is universal.
Giving, of course, is one of, you keep saying every now and then, about 10 sayings in Avaya's book talks about
And
giving.
have you observed that in your journey of collecting funds for the hospital? Has it been secular in terms of the response you got from different communities and people across the world?
Definitely. We got, I know my grandfather gave zakat, which is a portion of your, of course, Wahid Appa will tell you that it's a fixed percentage of whatever assets you have. My grandfather said, yeah, we should adopt it. It's a great idea, so it was all there as part of growing up.
Those of us who've been to a number of book launches in different parts of the country and even other parts of the world, rarely do you come across a book being launched with music, with dance and storytelling. What caused that?
Well, I would ask all of you if you cast your mind back centuries ago when, our ancestors had one thing in common, and that was imagination, which all of us have today. And if you can imagine right at the beginning of time when people realized, okay, you can show waves of the sea, or you could do it better, birds flying, or with your eyes you can show anger, or you can show sadness. And then began, one thing led to another, and the whole Natya Shastra. And we went to Konarak the other day, Appa and all of us went, and we were admiring the frieze where Guru Kelucharan, you also told me this, right, Jilamtai, that he looked at it and he saw how it evolved. So that's one part of it. It still continues that. And when it comes to music, we knew it's sa, pa, sa, and then they had different notes between it, and then all these streams. And storytelling goes back, to eternity, isn't it? You look at not just grandmothers, but their grandmothers. They've been hearing stories. So then I just thought, I've been to a lot of book launches, which, are, of course, it's serious stuff, but the questions asked, and it's about the book. But this subject lent itself beautifully to all the three coming together, three silos of music, dance, and storytelling. And I want to share with you that I was quite amused as a child. Jilamta, I don't know if it happens in Maharashtra, where she comes from, but in the south, there's something which was in existence around Harikatha. Harikatha is the same guy would start telling a story, suddenly would burst into song. It could be Hanuman leaping into, into space. The Maharashtrians, all communities, I suppose, have it. So storytelling is wonderful. And the book, My Grandmother's Tweets, is really all about stories of values.
So I come to the most obvious question towards the end. Why tweets?
Well, for this reason that I feel, maybe privileged that I grew up and learned all of this, and I wanted the next gen. All of us have been lucky, and we've grown up with mothers and grandmothers and a lot of influences. But I think the younger next gen, I mean, they're all nuclear families, they're not like joint families. So children don't get enough of this because they have so many other things to do. Computers, they've got homework. When do you have the time to pass down all those important values that really make you what you are? And therefore, I wanted to relate to them. And young people, you know how they are. They want wisdom quick, fast, fatafat, mujhe bolo, chalo, don't give me bhashan. So this subscribes to that. The stories are short. The sayings are as pithy as the stories are. And I have, of course, we all have our favorite sayings. So there are a couple which I've grown up with, a little more dear to me on the lines of giving and stuff.
Would you like to share your favorite sayings?
Actually, one of the sayings which is again, Dhanamad Virimba is, whatever little you have, even give. So the story is, one of the stories that I have related under this Dhanamad Virimba is about Odisha, where Gandhiji seems to have come for his Charka Sangh collection of money. And there were so many people, wealthy people, giving him checks, and Gandhiji had so much money, and Jamnalal Bajaj was collecting it for him. And then one day, far away in that collection drive, there was this very, very poor, bent-over woman in tatters who somehow pushed people aside, and she came to Gandhiji, and she, from her potli, took out a little copper coin, and she placed it lovingly at his feet. So Gandhiji said, thank you, dhanyavad. And Jamnalal Bajaj picked up this coin and put it, with the rest of the funds. And Gandhiji said, give it back to me. I want to keep it. Because for people who have lakhs of rupees and they give 1,000, it's neither here nor there. But this woman had nothing, and she yet gave it to me. So that is
beautiful.
A wonderful story.
A
Can I
couple
tell you
more.
one more?
A couple.
No, just one more. One more, and that's got to do with Swami Vivekananda, who's in my family hugely respected, and that they really admired him a lot. So this story, I think a few of you, it's not a very uncommon story, but it goes like this, that Rockefeller was quite a mean old rich man when he was young, arrogant. If he lost even 1 rupee, $1, he would, kind of cry. But if he made money, then he would laugh and be in a great mood. And somebody told him that Vivekananda was visiting at a friend's house. So he went up to see the monk, and Vivekananda was writing at his table. And without looking up, Swamiji said, you're a channel to do good for the world. Rockefeller said, what is this kind of statement? He turned away. He was a haughty guy, and he pushed off. And a while later, he maybe had a change of heart, and he wrote out a check. And again, Swamiji was at his table, and Rockefeller just chucked the check and said, here's a check for you. Are you happy? And Swamiji said, it is for you to say if you're happy. And that is Aramseya Virimba, desire to do good. So for the rest of the stories, please buy and read it. And I also wanted to share that 50% of all the, if the book is 500 rupees, and if you go through the email ID given at the bottom of the book, then 50%, which is 250 rupees per every book, goes for a child with cancer. Nobody who's written a book markets this themselves, but I feel,
So maybe I can step in and do a little bit of marketing on our behalf. So 2 interesting points, taking, the presence of, the advantage of the presence of the wonderful Wahida ji here. So do any of you remember one of the most famous songs of her films? Anybody in the audience? Anything else? Aaj bhi. Right. So you are all, management graduates stepping into the world of business, life, and enterprise. So, आज जीने की तमन्ना करो और आज दान देने की वादा करो. So, that's what I would suggest. We are getting into value-driven organizations, a value-driven society. This book is something that could help you when you have to look at certain simple inspirations, certain ideas and thoughts. So do buy it. The proceeds, of course, are for a good cause. But I think there's lots of little nuggets of substantial learning and wisdom in it. Thank you.
So to ask...
Any questions from the audience?
Yeah, myself Prashant Kumar Panna. I am one of the senior railway consultant and corporate
I can't
advisor.
hear you, closer.
Yeah. Thing is that my question, you...
Put the mic closer to your mouth.
Yeah, you sir, you advise these management students that after your completion, you enter into service or for entrepreneurship. But my request is that all management people, especially from IIMs or Javier or from XLRI, they should also think how the country will run at par with all the developed countries. For how many days we will be only developing countries? And if the brains from IITs, brains from IIM, they always think of service and enterprise, then what will be the fate of the nation?
Thank you. Good point. Any other questions?
Good evening. My name is Devashish. Excellent book. I have read some portions of it. Especially the learnings on gambling and addiction, which is even mobile is like an addiction. And if you look at even some extent, you're talking of don't gamble and things like that. This short kind of information which you are giving in. You have also put in a lot of effort in terms of giving real life unknown stories. So if you had to add more to a saying, whatever you've written, what is that one extra saying which would come in and what would be relevant from Odisha's point of view?
I think the 109 sayings, Devashiji has the world in it. I cannot think beyond it. And I'm sure that the next Avayar born, because I also want to share with you that Avayar, there is a name, it actually means old lady. And there was one in the Sangam period in the 2nd century too, who wrote extremely philosophical poetry. Many Avayars have come, but I don't have Avayar status yet. But I think I should pray to Ganesha to zara baal safed karke, to get wisdom. I'll pray to Ganesha tonight, then I'll write a few more sayings. Is that it?
Any other questions?
Good evening. My name is Zishan. Ma'am, I have a simple question for you. You have been doing a lot of fundraising for Tata, so your experience is much more. But in my view, I feel that in our country, most people find it very difficult to give. In terms of, you look at philanthropy, in my view, is not really happening as it is perhaps in the West. I really hope that with this book, that changes. At least, young people do read your book, and I hope that there's a big change in the country.
Thank you. Yeah. So, Shivi to bring her up. Shivi to escort her.
May I now request
1 second. No.
Shivnarayan Bhansdeo, the Raja of Kanika, to bring Vaida Appa onto stage to release the book.
फूलों के रंग से दिल की कलम से तुझको लिखी रोज पाती कैसे बताऊं किस किस तरह से पल पल मुझे तू सताती तेरे ही सपने लेकर के सोया
Okay. आप खोल सकते हैं काटो Yeah.
1 second. 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 1 second
Okay. Yeah. I'll cover this. Come. Sorry. Appa, will you say a few words, please?
I have been to so many book launches, but this is a very unique way of wrapping it in a sari. That is Geeta Gopalakrishnan. She has to do something different. She's a unique, a wonderful person. Yes, I have read the book, and you all must buy and give it to your children also. Because we all have read these kind of books many times. But over the years, it starts fading a little bit. So when something like this, short and sweet and very good, one would say, oh, it revives the whole things. So I really, really request you, all of you, to buy, you read, and tell your children also to read it. And so they will get good advice, real values of life. Thank you.
Friends, I found something quite wonderful in Mumbai. There was a paintings exhibition by Odisha artists, and sorry, oops, sorry. So it's a small token of huge love, and on behalf of all of us, it's not just me. Here's something sweet for you to remember Odisha with. I hope you get another Rolex and don't lose it in the sea. Yeah. Can I open this too? Yes. Sorry, 1 second. It's just, it opens up. I'll just throw it. It's a picture of Joy Jagannath painting. It's done by Soumya Ranjan Patanaik and depicts Jagannath. And Appa is truly secular, and so I'm sure she'll enjoy it. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah, can you do that? चले जाएंगे.
Thank you very much, Geeta ma'am. Thank you, sir. My grandmother's tweets are on sale at the book kiosk outside, and ma'am will be very happy to sign your copies. And as you remember, proceeds, 15% of the proceeds go to a very good cause indeed. So gift a book, buy a book, keep one for yourself. Yes, she may, but once she gets done. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am will be signing copies of her book right outside the auditorium in the foyer. Yeah, right there. Thank you so much.